Toyota, let's go places.
Socialized help.
and this is my new friend Amara. And today we're celebrating her birthday.
Zero calories and 100%.
Mentos Pure Fresh Gum with a burst of freshness to help you small talk.
University Global. With over 175 online programs,
It's Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, and this is In Your Face with Fischer. I'm Mike Fischer, where the Constitution and the truth don't give a damn about your feelings, and neither do I. First off, we're going to get with the crew, and I'm going to introduce them to y'all. First, we got Austin. Over there, he's the founder of the Second... what was it again, Austin?
Support in Indiana.
All right.
Facebook.
All right. And next to him is Joe Novak. He's co-founder of the group, but... All right. Let's get Joe's mic up.
That.
All right. Go ahead.
Is that any better?
Joe is also part of the...
peasant.
Yes, he is part of the Libertarian Party here in LaPorte County, or this district.
Yeah. I looked down because I thought I had my Libertarian shirt on, but I don't.
No, you don't. And next to him is Ed Beeman. He is a machinist, a Christian, and a Trump supporter, and a conservative. How you doing today, Ed?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing real good.
Good.
And next to him is Dustin. Dustin is a college student. We want to get a young guy on here to get his perspective on what's going on, and we know how these professors are teaching these kids these liberal points of view. So, how you doing today, Dustin?
I don't know if my mic's on.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, your mic's on. Don't worry about it. Just talk.
Okay.
That's their job.
Yeah.
Not yours. All right, going on to national news. We like to cover some national news. We cover some local news, and then we get to our topic for today. on anybody watch the Democratic debates?
Couldn't stand it that long.
No, I guess I was the only one.
Memes about it. I even made a couple myself.
Well, you know, they did show a lot of diversity this time. I was real happy with it. I found out that, you know, that's where a racist billionaire, a homosexual, a socialist, and a Native American woman can get together and talk about absolutely nothing.
Well, now that Yang's out, Elizabeth Warren's the only Asian in there.
Yep. Yeah. She is the only minority now. Is the Native American Elizabeth Warren. So also Bloomberg is talking about getting Hillary Clinton as a running mate as vice president. Does this fool have a death wish?
Yes.
I mean, this guy wants to die.
Right.
What a loser.
Yeah, he
Little
is.
Mike.
Yeah, Little Mike. So also news came out about Roger Stone. Got over 3 years for
Nothing.
For they say he lied to Congress. And Hillary Clinton's going to run with Bloomberg.
Yeah, she's a saint, isn't she?
Yeah, and Roger Stone's going to prison. That's a joke.
Wow.
We go to local news. You probably heard last couple weeks about this Joseph Lopez. He worked for the sheriff's department. If you ever been to the courthouse, like Joe and I, every time you went in there, he was there to frisk you and take your things to walk in before where you walked in the metal.
Make sure you don't have the phones, you can shoot somebody.
Yeah. But come to find out, he had 2 or 3 years worth of child porn on his personal computer and got no prison time. None.
And I don't know, but it's not like it's 17.99-year-olds. It's just like
No, it was a 9.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna be 18 the next day.
They said it looked to be a 9-year-old little girl on some of this. So I mean, it wasn't like.
There's no.
Yeah, there's no give on that.
Yeah,
Joe. 9 years old. I mean, but this guy.
No mistaking it.
Yeah, he's got some. What a dirty son of a bitch. Got some counseling, some community service. Yet Roger Stone's going to jail for 3 years, unless President Trump does what he's supposed to do and pardons him. What do you guys think? Should Trump pardon Roger Stone?
Well, I don't know if you're pardoned, that means that you did something, but maybe there's a possibility of overturning it, because you think about General Flynn. From what I understand, the 302s don't match what he said. Like they might have went in and changed the dates afterward or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you pardon him, well, that means that he was guilty, but you're pardoning him.
So it'd be better to overturn it.
Right, if that's the case. You know what I mean?
But they're convicting him for lying about something that after a 3-year investigation they found there was nothing.
How can
That's
Hillary
why he was in there for something that they had no evidence of, and he's going to prison for something that there was no evidence of. That is ridiculous to me. The lead juror is a Trump hater. I mean, she tweeted, and she said she had, and her husband worked for the Obama administration. And she said she had no bias.
Yeah, there's no bias there. Nah, not at all.
Go ahead, Dustin. What?
I don't know.
Dustin don't know. So, but anyway, yeah, that's this guy gets no prison time. Also in national news, I don't have the woman's name. I wish I did. She does some reporting for InfoWars. she was attacked at Ohio University by a bunch of liberals. The tolerant left, you know,
They were loving her.
yes. Well, they talk about diversity and how they want so much diversity, and they care about every form of diversity, except for intellectual diversity. They can't sit down and talk to you. They have to yell over top of you, and violence. I mean,
Not all of them, though.
no,
There are
no.
some people that
aren't in
very-
Antifa.
that have very left that I sit down and I debate with all the time, you know, and
Well,
and some of them make some good points and stuff too, but it's like
well, here's
I just don't want to paint everybody with the same brush.
no,
If
and
you're
we
on the
don't.
left, you're a mean person.
Well, let's talk extreme left.
Yes, but I mean these people are blatantly out there
Funded by Soros.
being hate, you know.
Funded by Soros.
Well, it's a few that scream the loudest that make the most trouble. So
The reporter's name, just so you can put that out there, was Savannah Hernandez.
Okay, yeah, Savannah Hernandez. Cute girl out there doing nothing, just interviewing people on, I believe, their opinions about Trump.
Sounds like a Latina.
No, she's a blonde girl. Maybe she is. I
You
don't
know,
know.
there are blondes down there too.
May have,
Oh, well, I
may
didn't
have
know.
married into a family. We don't know.
But yeah, she was attacked. I just want people to be aware. We just got another guy who was convicted of. I just want to get this out here because we really want to protect our children, and we know this child molesting and these pedophile rings are getting rampant, and anything in our town I want to bring to people's attention. LaPorte police had a call regarding an unwanted guest last Thursday night of a 48-year-old man on a 4 felony. Let's see, he was arrested on a 4 felony counts of child molesting. David Powers II is being held in LaPorte County Jail on cash-only bond of $100,005, according to police.
might have made that 100,000, but when they threw that $5 on there,
All right. I don't know. We're not getting these mics turned up like they need to be. All right. This guy's from. They were called to a house in rural Noblesville or Noble Township. So, just to let you know, just to keep an eye out for this guy, or if you know him, you know. What?
is he in jail? It'd be easy to keep an eye out for him.
Well, he can get out on bond. I'm just saying.
Well, not that they threw that $5 on him.
Not that they threw that
It didn't happen
$100,000
now.
and $5. Coronavirus. What's going on with this?
Well, from what everyone hears, nobody knows because everybody's giving us different numbers of either infected, dead. I mean, the numbers change so rapidly. You'll never get the 100% truth, regardless. But the numbers change so rapidly. I've heard numbers as low as 300, 400, 500 infected and 70 to 80 dead, all the way up to, and this is going to sound crazy, but this is what I've heard, over 150,000 infected and 75,000 dead from various sources. You'll never get the full truth.
it's over 200 in China a day. So that's the actual that's the news source. Well, whether that's true or not, Iran's got some. The United States 35 dead.
Last
So
United States has 35 dead.
I think so.
I heard it was 14.
14.
The rate at which, from what all these different sources are saying, some people are saying that it's only mutated 4 times. Some people are saying it's mutated over 10 times. And it's mutating more than what a normal virus
It's something to keep an eye on. We don't know.
We've been through it.
Yeah.
Like we all were talking with Joe, and I was just telling people, be aware, be cautious, don't be afraid, but sometimes you got to take preventative measures.
Yeah, take some healthy measures,
and the basic thing is wash your hands.
Yeah.
And
don't touch your face.
Yeah, and don't be digging in your eyes.
Digging your neighbor's eyes.
And, another thing that I've talked about with my wife and parts of the family is eating out at places every day of the week and even most days of the week. If it's actually coming to your area, it's something you might want to slow down on when you go to public places and they have those disinfectant wipes. I never used to do that, but just thinking about it, wipe down your car. It may help, it may not help, but it's just a preventative measure you can take to keep yourself from contracting the
what a
virus.
Awesome idea to like abolish currency altogether, because you could get germs with it.
Yeah.
This is family friendly, right? Because all kinds of one-liners are popping in my head. They're just dying to blurt out.
Joe's the guy that grabs the steering wheel and jerks it
right down to the ditch, right?
Jerks it right down in the. I'm not going to say jerk.
A change of currency.
Yeah, because that's another one-liner, right?
But yeah, speaking of Antifa, this woman got attacked, and they seem to go after the weaklings. So not that my crew's weaklings, but I take their safety personally. So we started out this week. I started training my crew in self-defense. So we have a little recording of that. So if we could go to that video, guys. Many people don't know this, but I am a self-taught expert at martial arts. And being such that I'm in charge of our podcast, watch yourself. I take it upon myself.
Should I sing for the dead space there?
Because of our controversial subject matter and to protect ourselves from Antifa.
We're hoping the video's playing.
First, we're going to teach Justin. Justin, please come. Today we're going to be using a butter knife so no one possibly could get hurt. See, what we are doing, we're projecting Antifa attack and certain circumstances where you would have to defend yourself. Right. You're going to come at me with the knife, and I am going to block it. I'm going to show you how to block it. Come at me. All right? Underneath, no one can do it. Ow! No! That would never. A bigger knife. You're going to come down at me, and I'm going to block it. Well, come at me. No. Ow! Fuck! No! Ow! Fucker! Give me it! I'm supposed to have it! Now! You're gonna try. No! No! That would. Come here. Yeah! You can't block that! And that ends our self-defense class. Or gato. Sorry. Oh, wow. I didn't even realize we were back. Wow. Live. Anyway, sorry about that. That video seemed to be a little bit choppy, a little messed up, but it was meant to be funny. It probably wasn't.
Pretend like it was.
Now we're going to get to our topic. Our topic today is the Federal Reserve. Joe has talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. So let's go to Joe Novak, and he's going to explain the Federal Reserve to us and what it is.
It's a scam. That's what it is. It's not federal. It's not a reserve. They first came up with it. It was created on
Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island, December 22nd, 1910. And when they first came up with the
It was 1913.
No, it was December 22nd, 1910.
I thought it was December 23rd, 1913.
No.
That's the numbers I got.
No. And you know how they like their numbers.
All right, yeah.
11/22. That's the same exact day, which I don't think it's a coincidence that Kennedy was killed.
Well, and we're going to talk about that in a little
1910. It was
bit.
December 22nd, 1910. And when they first came up with the concept of the Federal Reserve, it wasn't called the Federal Reserve. They put it in under a Senator Aldrich's name, and they said, no, don't put your name on it because it'll never pass. And guess what? It didn't pass. That's why.
In the mic.
Yeah. That's why it didn't come around about 1910 because he put his name on it, and he's he was an evil banker, and they said if you put your name on it, it won't pass. Well, they put his name on it, and it wouldn't pass.
Anything to do with that concept.
Yeah. So what they did then was they reworded it, basically the same stuff, and they put some stuff in there, some controls and stuff that people were okay with, and when they passed it, which, like he says, December 23rd, December 23rd, 1913.
Yeah, he's
1913.
correct. It says that the revision was passed in June or December 23rd, 1913.
And the IRS was formed the next day, wasn't it?
Yeah, the day before Christmas, all of this was done.
I'm not saying nothing bad about the IRS.
So, anyway.
But we didn't completely get off of the gold standard until June 5th, 1933.
What happened was, and they brought it in December 23rd, 19...
Let's back up. Let's back up for a minute for everybody else. Is my mic up?
Yes.
All right. Let's back up a little bit. Who met at Jekyll Island?
I don't remember all of their names.
Does anybody have some names?
The people that were there, though...
Way to be prepared, Joe.
The people that were there... Well,
they've known for 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. But,
yeah, 2 weeks.
Then
It was only 2 weeks. I had to prepare.
I thought we were on to something else by now. But anyway, the people that were there on that island had 25% of the wealth in the world.
All right, I have the names of all of the people that met there. It was 6 men in November of 1910 to discuss what was soon to be the abolishment of the gold standard. Was Nelson Aldrich, A. Pat Andrew, Henry Davidson, Arthur Shelton, Frank Vanderlip, and Paul Warburg. Met at the Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia to plan the reform of the nation's banking system, central banking system.
From what I understand, there's a clubhouse there on Jekyll Island, and there's a plaque outside that room that says the Federal Reserve was created here November 22nd, 1910.
Wow. All right, now let's get to what the Federal Reserve is. Because a lot of people don't know. They see on their dollar bills on the top a Federal Reserve note.
And maybe they should know what it was before we came into the Federal Reserve. How the standards have changed to let them know how bad it is now compared to what it was.
Before the Federal Reserve, most people know that, and I think people are still under the assumption that our money is backed by gold and silver.
Well, I don't think anybody believes that now.
Some
people don't even know what money is.
Well, some people never heard of Building 7 neither, so...
Right. What's that?
Yeah, so... Yeah, I believe some people believe that our money is backed by gold and silver, but it is not. It used to be for every certificate.
And then it was
$50.
once again in 1963.
For a little while.
For a short period of time, you could still see pictures of those dollars.
$5 bills and $2 bills.
Yeah, that's a United States note instead of Federal Reserve note. But
all right. So let's go. Okay, so it was backed by gold, and then someone came in and said.
But it was backed by gold, but it was fractional reserve banking.
All right.
Which, if people put their money in the bank, and they only have to keep a fraction of that in there. Okay, so you deposit your gold, and then you get a gold note for the gold that you have in there. But with the fractional reserve banking, which is a scam also, because they're allowed to lend out many times more gold than they have. So they're literally loaning stuff to people that they don't have. Which if there was no such thing as fractional reserve banking, we would have never had the banking runs that we had. Because if there was $100 million in a bank, and they only, everybody knew that if they could go there and get their money back because they don't have, $200 million loaned out, then why would you stand in line all day if you know that I can come back in a week tomorrow and they'll still have the money? So they had banking runs and stuff like that. They caused these panics to people to run, and they say, hey, we have a problem. See, they create the problem, then they create the solution. We'll have this Federal Reserve. That there's a reserve there, but it's not.
Now, isn't this how the Rothschilds took over Europe? Is because of Napoleon and the Battle of Waterloo, and they rushed and told the people there, or the king, or the whoever, that Napoleon had won.
I don't know about that, but
false flags, and propaganda, and all kinds of that garbage.
And then the Rothschilds, so the stock market fell, and the Rothschilds bought everything for pennies on the what we would call pennies on the dollar. So.
And that's what Soros did too. We were talking about where he got his money from.
Yeah, stealing from the Jews.
No. He literally shorted the British pound.
Yeah, and then bought it up.
The money, and then paid back on pennies on a dollar. That's how he got to be a billionaire.
He did steal from the Jews, though.
He did that also, but that's not where he got his
during the Holocaust. So, if you don't believe me, look it up. It's on 60 Minutes. It's a clip on 60 Minutes. So. Yeah. That was the fondest time of his life, he said. So you can look it up. It's so explain what the Federal Reserve does. Somebody else want to?
Well, what basically they do is they tell you how much your money's worth, and there's so much money in circulation. There's only so much money in circulation. So then when they tell you how much your money's worth, and then you print off more, that actually takes away from what the money's worth. So basically what they're doing is they're creating the inflation that everybody was panicking from back in the 30s during the Great Depression. They're basically
20s
and 30s. 20s and 30s. They're basically creating they're creating
the Federal Reserve.
They're basically creating the inflation that everybody was panicking about in the 20s and 30s, again, just by, like I've had it explained to me multiple times by you and a bunch of other people. If you have a piece of gold, and you take a dollar bill and you say, this dollar bill is worth this piece of gold. Now I'm going to take this piece of gold, that backs up your dollar. Well, if I print another dollar, but I still only have this one piece of gold, that just cut the value of your dollar in half. So there's so much money in circulation, only so much money in circulation, they keep printing it off. Now our dollar is worth 3% of what it was in, I believe it was 1967, and compared to in the 40s, it's worth 0.01% of what it was worth in the 40s.
basically what it's like a baseball card. If you have a baseball card and you print 2 of them, they're going to be worth a lot of money. If you print 1,000,000 of them, they're going to be pretty much worthless.
Like the 90s baseball cards, worthless.
Yeah, because they made so many of them. So what happens is we had quantitative easing. And what that was is they just kept printing money, and then it was unlimited. Obama had
Basically, the whole thing is a money laundering scheme.
See, the bankers print the money. They have all the money because they make the money. And they loan it to countries at interest.
It's the government that prints the money. It's not.
No.
It's
the government does not print your money. It's the Federal Reserve.
It's all false. It's a false system because it's loaned money.
It's built to collapse.
Nothing to back it. Yet they want money back for it, and it's the biggest scam ever.
Too, is it with, since they took us off the gold standard, it's they say I'm going to loan you $100, and they're called Joe dollars. You have to pay it back with Joe dollars. I pass a law that you can't use anything but Joe dollars.
Yep.
Now you've spent that, but you owe me $110 because there's interest on that now. The only way you can pay me back is to borrow more money.
Oil money.
So it's
but now you owe me $220, and the most you have is so you will never ever pay back the Federal Reserve, the national
big
debt.
Ponzi
You
scheme.
cannot do that.
Why did we lose our feed? All right. Sorry about that. We lost our feed for a minute. So what happens is that the Federal Reserve, it's a law that you can only pay with a Federal Reserve note. You can't.
Made it illegal to pay with
Yeah, you cannot pay with gold. It's illegal. So you have to pay with the Federal Reserve note. All right. So what they do is they lend it to our country with interest. So it starts out owing money. It's a debt.
It's a debt-based system.
Yeah, it's a debt-based system. You can never. If every man, woman, and child turned in every dollar they had, it wouldn't pay back the Federal Reserve because we'd still owe the interest on everything we've ever borrowed. So what happens is they lend it to you, like Joe said, and they say, okay, we lent you $1 billion, but now you owe us $1.5 billion, but you can only pay us back in our Federal Reserve notes, so we have to borrow
More to pay them the
more to pay our debt and the interest, and to have more money to run the country, we have to borrow more.
And if it sounds ridiculous, that's because it is.
And it's a big circle. And at this point, I don't know how you get out of this. It's going to explode.
It has to collapse.
Because it's a faith-based, the value is faith-based. It's worth something because someone tells you it's worth something, because you believe it's worth something.
It's not just the U.S. dollar, it's every dollar in the world right now, and the whole system has to crash.
Not every country, though, like...
all the countries that are working together, yes.
Like Libya, like before Gaddafi was killed, he went before the United Nations and he said, hey, we don't want nothing to do with this...
Hillary said, we came, we saw, he died.
And he said he wanted everybody.
Vietnam.
He wanted to go to the Cougar End, I believe, and that's made of gold. And wouldn't you know
The
it?
United Nations is not a secret.
Yeah.
It's not a secret.
No, and so we killed him.
And they posted it on live television. I remember.
He wanted to do the same thing.
I remember that very vividly because they had it on CNN, and I was sick home from school that day, and they posted his death live on television.
So
I don't think this mic is on, is it?
yeah, you're sounding good.
You're hot. Oh, yeah, I mean, your mic's hot.
Yeah, your mic's hot.
What up?
Hey, yeah, so how do you get out of the system? You have to fail?
Yeah.
I don't know. There might be a way of creating another system on the side and moving over to it. I don't know what. I don't.
Are we talking about?
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe the dollar's too hot to touch.
Because that's
Like
talking about the note in '63 that we were talking about. The note in '63 that Kennedy printed. Well, then he was killed. Then he was killed when they pulled that out. But see, that's what I believe he was going to do was create a system on the side. No.
Hold on. Back up. Because you know about it, and I know about it.
Right.
Don't mean that anybody else knows what you're talking about. In 1963, early 1963, what did Kennedy do?
He signed an executive order, I think it was 11110.
How does he remember these?
And that made it possible to create a note, a silver note. And then they created and released bills that were not Federal Reserve bills. They were it says United States note on it. And they were backed by silver.
And I believe it was $5 bills and $2 bills, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I remember seeing $5 bills.
It started printing, and the United States
And they were there.
Treasury was printing them, not the Federal Reserve, but the Treasury. Now you know when Alan Greenspan, and you can look this up, you can Google it if Google's what you use.
But it's hard when they control the media. A lot of stuff's hard to find. Now, it's easy to find that picture of that note.
But Alan Greenspan was on Meet the Press or something like that, and they said, I believe Clinton was president, or was it Obama? Yeah, either way, they said, how was your relationship with the president, and does it matter? And he says, it don't matter what we're our own entity.
We're separate from the United States.
Yeah, they are not a federal agency. They're as federal as Federal Express.
The land the Federal Reserve sits on is not bound by U.S. law.
And if you do not believe me, go to Washington, D.C., or go to any state and look in the governmental pages in your telephone book and look under the government. You won't find the Federal Reserve. You'll find the Federal Reserve next to Federal Express in the phone book because it's not a government agency.
I have your fact check for the notes. They were originally called, when Kennedy had them printed, they were originally called the silver certificates. They were 1s, 5s, and very few 20s and 50s.
All right.
They were called
I thought I saw $2.
The silver certificates of the United States of America.
So, we fast forward a little bit in 1963 to November 22nd. Something happened significant there. Boom.
Yes, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. Killed President Kennedy by himself.
Yes.
Now, very powerful people run the Federal Reserve. These are the people that are more powerful than what people think, the president's the most powerful person in the world. No, he's basically a figurehead. I mean, look at, and this is what gets me. They call Trump a dictator and a fascist. Would the media be talking about him the way he was if he was a dictator or a fascist? Would all this stuff be going on? Because I believe everybody would be killed or put in prison. I don't know.
He was correct on his executive order as well. So they can look it up.
11110. So if you want to look that up for yourself, one thing we do ask is, for God's sakes, don't take our word for it.
Yeah, please do. Please.
And if we're wrong, I mean, we have email.
If I'm wrong, call and yell at him.
Yeah. And if we're wrong about something, we have comments up here. People can comment. You're right, Kyle. We should have never been taken off the gold standard. Ever. We appreciate your comments, too. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read some of these comments. Go ahead, guys.
Well, just to get back to actually when it was implemented, the Federal Reserve was I can't even say the word. Implemented. Thank you. It was actually a real, I don't want to say slow going, but it was like Joe said, it was made in what year was it? It was
1910. November 22nd, 1910.
And then they revised it and put it.
Yeah, because they tried it and it failed the first time.
Yeah,
Because the people knew that son of a bitch that's name was attached to it was.
And Rockefeller bought up newspapers and they said, call your congressman and tell them to vote for this because the bankers don't like it. So everybody's like, well, if the bankers don't like it, I'm for it.
Slick.
Yeah. That's why they own the media today.
An executive order was signed in, I believe it was 1933, that stated everyone needed to turn in their gold bullions.
Oh, it was
June 5th?
Roosevelt.
FDR.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
He signed an executive order in, what was it, 33?
I'm not sure exactly.
I think it was June 5th, 1933.
Did they give the people money for it?
No, they told them that their notes were going to be exchanged for Federal Reserve notes. And people panicked at the time and didn't want to do that because they only knew, like when you're in a way for so long, you only know that way. You only knew the gold standard. So people panicked, but people did it, and now that's all we know.
And they knew better back then too because they weren't as brainwashed as everybody is today. And that's all of us.
My question is there's only so much gold.
Not anymore. It's all gone.
Correct? I mean, there's only so much gold. Would capitalism have worked if we would have stayed on the gold standard?
Well, there's other things you could use.
But
the thing of it is.
But am I wrong in saying there'd be a cap on wealth?
Right. You can run a printing press. You can't run a gold press.
Yeah. So there's a cap on wealth.
Right.
Would we be the nation we are today?
It's like they did with the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's a cap on it.
Good or bad?
It's run by an algorithm.
Good or bad? Would we be the nation we are today had it not been for the Federal Reserve?
I think
as rich, as powerful.
I think that we would probably be as rich, but I think that the space in between the upper class and the middle class would be a lot greater.
What would it make any difference?
Well, the thing of it is people would be able to retain wealth.
There would be very little inflation.
But the thing of it is the world would be a richer place.
Yeah.
The world would, because there's a reason, like he said about oil backed. There's a reason you must buy oil with the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing set up
There's
there
an
too.
actual logical reason for that. It keeps everything flowing properly. If everybody used, there's actually a really logical reason for that. But the government, our government, made it. It really enforced it. But there is a logical reason. For it.
Our government was a tool also, though. It was the people that run the Federal Reserve that.
But that stabilized the price of oil.
But
if they didn't
but my
do
point
it
too
that
is
way,
it's another way to steal from the rest of the world.
right? But it stabilized things. If that wasn't enforced, it would not. There would be prices of oil all over the place. That's why it was.
Well, the other thing too is they can control it.
That's why they did it like that.
Yeah. No, they can control it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Benefit them.
Oh yeah. I know. It will benefit all of the parties involved. It's not just the United States. It's the whole world entity.
Yes.
It's not just the United States. This whole thing is run worldwide.
So is Bitcoin something to go to, or is that something they can corrupt too? See, I don't understand the value of Bitcoin and what makes it valuable.
It's hackable.
It's almost like well, they say mining Bitcoin, mining a coin. You run math, you run an algorithm on your computer, whatever and you can mine it, but it takes time and it takes energy to. So it's not like you just throw a bunch of bits.
It's like printing money, but you can't.
You can't print it. It's almost like mining gold. You have to mine these coins.
Yeah. It takes a bit to understand.
And as the value goes up, it's not worth mining the coins anymore because you use more time and energy to mine the coins than they're worth.
If you'd bought into it when it first started, you'd be a
Well, I mean, there's examples of that all over the place. People back in the early 2000s were going out there and buying a bunch of them.
Well, I watch Matt Kaiser talking about Bitcoin. He's all
and
about
it's
Bitcoin.
Too.
Well, I mean, there's like
it hits a certain number.
Yeah, there was a kid. He dropped out of high school. I think it was like 9th grade. He dropped out, and because he had bought a ton of Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin went from like $100 to like $14,000, and he was a millionaire overnight. And then he sold all of his well, not all of it. He obviously had a reserve of Bitcoin, but
We have chat here from Kyle Garrett. He says, I wouldn't be surprised that the Saudis aren't running the world stage. I bet the Saudi royal family are some of the world's first trillionaires. Just look at how much wealth they have accrued through the centuries, conquering other kingdoms. We know the Saudis.
Well, yeah, there are families, and one of the families is the Saud family from Saudi Arabia.
What were we talking about with the Saudis the other day? We were talking about the Saudi family and how corrupt they are, and we know they're in bed with the politicians.
Yeah, we've seen the videos.
Yeah, we have videotape of the Saudi family peeing on Trump. Yeah. Did you see them guys tricked?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, being that girl that spoke in front of the, what's her name? The one that spoke in front of the United States or the United Nations.
Greta.
Greta, yeah.
Thunberg or whatever.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Yeah.
Poor girl.
Oh yeah, I mean this girl has autism. She has, mental.
She believes what she's saying.
And her parents. I'm sorry, her parents are. And I believe I read that her father is part of Antifa too. I don't understand this Antifa thing. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around, but we lost connection again. So if you can, we're up and going. All right, cool.
Wiggle that cord.
Man has nothing to do with global warming. So.
Well, she's an actress. Literally, you can look her up on the Internet Movie Database, IMDb. She's got a profile up there. She had an agent, and they've changed that since people were like, really? And they're looking at it. So they
well,
but literally, she's a human shield. We'll put her up there and make her say all this stuff, because if we put a scientist up there, they can bash the scientist and dispute it.
Well,
dispute with her. But the little girl, you can't pick on the little girl.
This is all about money. Canada has a carbon tax, so that's coming here. That's going everywhere. Carbon tax for
a way to get money. And here's my thing:
it's ridiculous.
Global warming is a problem.
Well, it's not global warming anymore. It's weather change, because they've shown where it's not warming.
And there's more polar ice caps than ever before.
Prove it. I don't believe it.
My thing is that
water levels haven't changed at all.
Lake Michigan has.
Wow, that's a lot of rain. That's rain.
But my, what was I talking about? I don't even remember. What I was talking about with these social media.
Oh, you said the girl that tricked Bernie Sanders, you said.
Oh, yeah, the same Russian guys tricked Bernie Sanders into thinking that they were Greta.
Oh, really?
So, but with social media,
I didn't see that one.
you should have. It was
good?
great. Oh, yeah. I don't think it'd take much to
Did you see the
trick
one?
Bernie.
Did you see the one where the radio show in Australia called the hospital when who's the that married the prince when they were having the baby in that?
Oh,
Prince
the
of
England, yeah.
Actress?
I forgot her
The
name.
girl, and I don't remember the girl and the Prince Harry and his wife or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And they were having the baby. A radio show called from Australia called up there and spoke and said they were somebody special. We need to speak. So then they got through and they were speaking to them while they were in the hospital, speaking to like the princesses or whatever,
Really?
or whatever her name is. And then they found out no, it's just a radio show, and they were really pissed. And the nurse that put her through that was fooled committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh, I shamed my country and myself, and
Wow.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right, Kyle. They don't have to disclose their wealth. I believe the Saudis don't. But I know that the Federal Reserve can't be audited, can't by anyone. Why is that? Why can't we?
Because they make the rules.
Does our government have any power to change this?
To change the subject, I bet the Vatican has more than the Saudis. So
Yeah. But
Does our government have any?
Back in October, you see, we're back in October where they raided the financial. They raided the financial office of the Vatican. You see that?
No. I didn't.
Yes, they did.
Really?
And they carried out boxes of documents and computers and electronic hardware and stuff. Yeah. You know, the interesting thing because it was right. I remember October 17th. I remember that date, and
must have been a diversion.
I was watching Marfugel, right? And there was a guy calls in. He's like, oh, look at this. And he had a cell phone video of when they were attacking that oil, the largest oil drilling facility in the world.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, and he's like, look, this is going on right now. And he's like, wow, so I'm watching this stuff. And then at the same time, an oil refinery in Mexico City blows up. One blows up in Italy, and a biological lab blows up in Australia, and one in Russia.
Did you see what happened to the price of oil as soon as that happened? It changed very abruptly because Saudis they're losing money on oil because of Russia, and so why not? Let's hike the money.
But the thing that was interesting is I'm watching all this stuff happen, like the world's blowing up. And somebody I know, they're sitting there watching like CNN or MSNBC, and they're like, "Oh, did you see what Trump? He misspelled that, and he's fat. I don't like him." And I'm like, "The world's blowing up. The world's blowing up, and Trump misspelled something." Like, that's the big story on CNN. I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like, that's why I like the independent reporters. There's some good stuff,
Well, and that's
it was
the
right
thing.
at that time. It was like a couple days later. That's the thing about when they raided the offices of the Vatican, and that was on there too. And I was like, and it's not on. It's not on the news. It's like.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Trump
Yeah, and he's fat, and I don't like him. Like, oh come on. Like, and I take I can't spell anything. And
why?
Yes.
Most people can't. What do they care, right?
Yeah. I work at the BOF. I can't spell BOF. Yeah.
Wow.
I knocked it right out of you, didn't I?
Oh, one thing I do want to bring up there with my pencils. One thing I do want to bring up is Marfugel News. You brought him up. They're having a lot of financial problems, and believe me, this stuff right here, what we're doing, ain't cheap. This is really expensive to do, guys. It really is. We have a Patreon account that you guys can, if you feel like giving us a few bucks. I mean, $1 is good. I mean, We're not asking for thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars. Anything helps. But with Marfugel, they're having a lot of, and they broke a lot of stories. So if you want to help them out,
I think
they would really.
His first big story was when you remember in Hawaii when they had that missile scare. They thought North Korea shot a missile at them. There was actually there was people coming back from fishing boats and tour boats.
Was that when the radio announcement came out?
They said, but because of the national emergency system said there's a rocket headed in and stuff like that. And that you can't oops, I hit the wrong button. You know that
but that's what they said.
Not happen. Yeah, that was the story on the news.
It can't happen.
No, it's not. They make sure that don't happen.
Austin, move that mic.
So. Well,
Hide behind it.
I was trying to talk to the side because I didn't want to cover my face. But.
No, believe me, it's not hurting nothing.
But there were people coming back from fishing boats and tour boats and stuff that said, no, there was a missile. And it was intercepted. It blew up in the air. Or, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and he was getting video of these people saying that stuff. And they started to say that on the news, and they cut them off, and they went to. And this was the regular mainstream news. The people were starting to say that they saw it, and they cut them off, and they went to commercial, and then went to another story. But Marfugel broke that.
Yeah, going back to them though, I mean, not even really going back to them, but going back to their financial situation. I mean, I think that is kind of the end game for independent sources of media. I think that's kind of the big plan is they're going to shut down those independent sources. So all you have to go to is these biased, capped sources like CNN, NBC, ABC, and you look at a lot of people, and people call him a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. Alex Jones, he was taken off of every single
platform.
Every single social media.
And you may not like Alex Jones. You may not agree with Alex Jones.
But the freedom of speech is a thing.
When they take him off, guess what? If you don't say nothing, next is you. And we just saw that with YouTube in their last purge. So, I mean, this is our first slide. Believe me, we tried to go live several times. We've tried to post videos. Things weren't working out because we didn't have the right equipment. And we've spent thousands of dollars. You don't see what's behind the scenes, how much time. None of these guys are getting paid. I don't get paid. The guys behind the scene, who we very rarely thank, Justin, Connor, and DJ, they do a hell of a job for us, but no one's making any money off this.
We're just here for you guys.
We just want to get local news out and get our area, LaPorte County, and what was that, Joe?
I want people to listen to me yell.
Yeah, I can't hear you because you don't talk into a microphone. But
Keep the independence up. That's who gives you the true stories. And even if you don't agree with them, you got to keep that. You got to keep their voices heard.
Once they take one person down, what was that? Where they said first they came after these people, then they came after these, and then when they came after me, there was no one else to defend me. So listen, I don't agree with the left wing. I don't. But they have a right to say what they want to say. We're not trying to shut them down. But they're sure as hell trying to shut down the right. Yeah, they sure in the hell are trying to shut down our conservative views. We're not trying to shut them down. I want to talk to them. I want to understand what they say. And believe me, I think majority of liberal, I don't like using liberal because Joe's a liberal, a classical liberal.
Yeah, and I found that kind of funny too.
These progressives, I don't believe they're just normal everyday. Sorry, I talked over y'all. So hold on one second. I don't believe they're bad people. I believe they want to help. I believe they have empathy for other people. And they want to help. But listen, socialism is not the way. Socialism's been tried. Communism's been tried. It don't work. Go ahead, Austin.
I was just going to say that I think it's funny how people say liberal nowadays, but when you look back at what true liberals were back in the day, like you said, classic liberals, the meanings of the words have completely flip-flopped.
They stole it.
They stole it, and they made it. They tried to use wordplay to make you think that you were a liberal, but you're not. They took that word.
Use language. They use language to control us, like calling us taxpayers. Oh, we all pay. No, they take it. We don't pay. They take it.
I've never offered a dime to the government.
No. As soon as you get your paycheck, you look at it and you say, "Well, that was my money."
Taken.
Civil asset forfeiture. Oh, that was civil, and you just forfeited it. No, you stole it. You know. You pull somebody over. You have too much money. We're taking it. We're going to let you go. I'm shocked at the people that don't even know that there is a civil asset.
I can't even imagine they could do that. That just doesn't seem right at all.
But I'm stunned.
Truck drivers are really
people that don't know.
And for people that are going to attack you for this, and I want to.
Mr. Kyle just said the worst flat earthers and vegans.
Uh-oh.
The worst conspiracy people are flat earthers and vegans. Yeah. I know those people.
Yeah, we really should need to get Mr. Garrett in here. He would definitely add a little bit to the conversation.
Yeah.
Unlike Dustin.
I'm not informed.
We got to have somebody over here that looks good at least. You know.
I'm here.
The hillbillies here.
Yep.
So Federal Reserve. Do we need it?
Oh, to get back on topic, you mean?
Yeah. Listen, if you're tuning in to us and you think we're going to stay on topic, think again.
It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be.
We're here. This is not news. If you think you tuned into a news broadcast, you are wrong. We try to be informative.
No, you did give news. You said about the guy that.
Yeah, we will point out all these pedophiles and. Well, I don't want them in my community, and I'm sorry. I'll do everything within my power to drive them out. I don't care.
And if you read up on that, if you read up on that, the case was closed. If a man has child pornography on his computer, you need to do an investigation. You think for 2 or 3 years he's just going to stop there?
He said his comment was, "It's what I do."
You think he's just going to stop there?
But
he was a police officer.
Hold on. He said he never molested any children.
He said.
So we have to take his word on it.
But everybody else is guilty until proven innocent, and this scumbag gets to get off scot-free just because he's paid by our taxes and he's.
There was at least 2 people that OD'd in LaPorte last night too. So.
Really, there are. This
huge drug
opioid epidemic is hitting us real hard. I know it's real bad in Ohio, but it's really hitting.
It's bad here in LaPorte.
It's been hitting LaPorte for 10 years.
So, an addiction is an addiction, guys. I'm sorry. I smoke. It's the only thing is it's illegal. I mean, and.
If you guys ever if you guys know a dealer or ever hear of a dealer, you guys need to report it because a heroin dealer is a death dealer.
Yes, I know one. CVS pharmacy.
Yeah.
Heroin dealer.
But what's killing people is the fentanyl. Let's get it, and we're getting that from China. Hopefully, we're not getting it no more. And we're getting it from Mexico. But that's what's killing people is this fentanyl that's coming in for the pharmaceuticals. And why Trump isn't doing anything. Sorry, Mrs. Alders. It isn't doing anything about this.
She was a teacher.
Yeah, my English.
She was actually all
It
about.
took a moment for that to sink in. The rest of the stuff I'll laugh on the way home.
Yeah. So, why he isn't doing something about this, because that would, it's never going to solve a problem. First of all, listen, I'm very, I'm a conservative. When I call myself, I'm more libertarian than I am Republican, so Joe tells me.
Yes, he is.
But I don't believe any drug should be illegal. Or I don't believe they should be illegal. Let me ask the. Well, hold on. Let me ask the crew here, if I had the power to legalize heroin today, Dusty, would you go get it?
No.
Ed?
Absolutely not.
Joe?
Nope.
Austin?
No.
No, because you know why? Could you get it today?
Yeah, we're in LaPorte.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Could you get it?
Probably, yeah.
Could you get it?
I think there's a place right there.
Yeah, if you wanted it, you could get it. Don't point up there. But if you want it right now, you can get it. I mean, legalizing it don't mean that. You know what? Got lots of friends that smoke weed. Don't have a problem with it. Got loved ones that smoke weed. Don't have a problem with it. I do not smoke weed. I don't.
There was the guy that had the.
I don't hear Joe because he's not talking into a microphone.
Okay, there was the guy. He was. I don't know if I got notes on this either, but.
Is this a friend of yours?
No, this was. Tricky Dick. President Nixon. Yes. His one of his chief of staff or somebody in his outfit there or whatever.
Yeah.
He said in an interview with a magazine, and you can find this, on the internet. He said in a magazine in the 70s when they interviewed him, he said the reason that they had the war on drugs with heroin and marijuana, he says, because they had a problem with the war protesters, and they had a problem with the Black Panthers, and they could not say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a war on anti-war protesters and black people." So he said what they did was he said they used marijuana and heroin, so they put a war on that. And
that was as racist as it came.
Yeah.
I mean,
we can. So now we can go bust their doors down and bust up their meetings and stuff like that, and haul them off to jail, and the public will cheer us for it.
And I'm
because
sure
we're stopping drugs.
And like I said, if you're
that was their tool.
If you're on our, watching, and Kyle's going nuts on his messages here. But what is that schedule? What is marijuana schedule?
It's a Schedule 1. All right. Yeah.
What is it, Kyle? You're right on there. What schedule is marijuana? I know he'll know.
Hey, 51% of all prisoners are between 2011 and 13 are served for drug-related offenses.
Yeah, and they're letting violent criminals out of prisons because it's overpopulated.
We have a guy that was working and frisking your wives, your girlfriends, you, that was watching child porn.
I got mine twice.
Watching child porn that got no time in prison.
Because they're all filled with
It's a victimless crime. I have never seen a drug dealer come to the door, knock on it, and say, "Hey, do you want weed?" If you want a drug, you go out and seek it. I've never seen. Is there heroin dealers that actually come to your door?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have to go looking for it.
Here, it's classified
Does
under
a
the.
heroin dealer come to your door, Austin?
I don't do heroin, but yes, all the time.
Okay.
No, Schedule 1 narcotics. Heroin. Don't even know the name of it. Oh, LSD. Marijuana.
Kyle says it's a Schedule 1.
Yep. Methamphetamine, methadone, and peyote are all Schedule 1. What's really funny to me is marijuana and heroin are in the same category.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Schedule 2 are substances or chemicals used and abused for potential.
Has anyone ever died from cannabis?
Nope.
That is not true. He didn't die from direct
a
cannabis
big
exposure.
bag of it fell on his head.
He ate too much.
And died.
Well,
that's his.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he died from
I
food.
don't know if I believe that either. So.
I
don't believe that either.
highly doubt
It was on Facebook, but
I highly doubt.
Yeah, I was up on nerds.
No, I doubt that.
Highly
Again, I don't use.
Any of these.
Anybody who knows me knows I don't use drugs at all.
All the countries that
Go ahead.
all the countries that legalize drugs have most of their problems in drugs have gone away.
Well, look at Portugal. They did that in 2001. There's lots of evidence of that.
Amsterdam have a lot of crime.
No.
Amsterdam at the time actually was illegal. They were pressured by the U.S. to make everything illegal. They're like, okay, it's illegal, you know. They did not push it. They didn't force it.
there's one thing that Darwin got right, and that is that they will take care of themselves.
Oh my gosh, it's 7:30.
Well, not only will deaths decrease from like drugs, but
they'll increase for a
You
while.
gotta get going, Ed.
No, they won't.
All right.
They
No,
did
but
not.
also,
In
I
fact,
can't talk.
like the people seeking to get off drugs like double and quadrupled, you know.
Oh, because
Yeah.
okay. So it had the reverse effect of
Yeah, it's like you okay. I use heroin. It's like I'm addicted to it. So I gotta get off it. But it's like I don't want to turn myself in so I can get off it.
But then again,
now-
I can
It's
yes.
legal now. Now
So
I
they're
go
not
send them
afraid.
hell.
They're not afraid to go to
Right.
to people. But then again, another thing about and this is one argument that one of my teachers in school brought up when I brought up the subject in school when I was in high school. When I was in high school and I was talking to my teacher about this exact subject, I said, what if we just legalized everything? And he told me, I'm against it just because that's another thing for them to tax. And I didn't know how to rebuttal that. I didn't know how to.
They don't have to tax it.
Well, they don't have to, but they will.
Well, Denver and Michigan, they're all taxing theirs, and they're making huge profits from it.
And I don't understand why people haven't come. No, I do
My
understand
question
why.
is
Just like alcohol.
how much would we be saving? Yeah. How much would we be saving as a community, as a state, as a nation, if we got rid and decriminalized these drug policies?
U.S. has 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prisoners.
Oh yeah, we have we're more.
And they make money off of that.
And 50% of those are drug related. So
How are these states like Michigan? I believe you can use recreational use. I have heard no problems with it in Michigan.
there's no problem.
No, as a matter of
As a matter of
fact,
fact, I have a friend that grows weed in Michigan, and it's
Profitable.
she's making killer money.
Yeah. It's
She's
all
making
regulated.
great money.
It's all regulated.
And this was a girl that had been on welfare her whole life, and now is making killer money.
Yeah.
And bought a house, bought a car, and is taking care of her own family, single mom.
Yeah, a little greenhouse in your backyard make you enough money to live on. Yep.
So I mean, come on, Indiana, what in the hell's the at least cannabis? Come on.
well, I mean, you told that to me a while ago. You said that Indiana will be the last state, if at all, to legalize marijuana.
No, what'll happen is it'll be legal federal, and there's no law against it in
Yeah.
Indiana. So when
Well,
they
that's
legalize
the-
federal, all the states will be at the same time.
That's the big problem with it too, is that I've watched documentaries on the people in Denver and Michigan, the dispensaries that are up there, and they get rated by the ATF and the I think it's I forgot who it is, but anyway, they get rated and what?
Bob?
No, they get rated and they get maximum sentencing. I mean, there was a lady that she started a dispensary, and she just she ended up going to prison for got the maximum sentence that you would get federally.
Well, the thing of it is too is, and this was because California was doing that. California, the feds went in there and they tried to make California prosecute their dealers. And the
This topic, Federal Reserve.
Yeah. No, but the
Hey, hold on 1 second. Dustin, what do you got to say?
Well, if you think about like all the drugs being legal, right now, no one who does drugs can get a job because there's drug tests. So how do those people get money to buy drugs?
Because they borrow somebody else's piss and they get a job.
That's
what they do.
A lot of them steal.
That's what people do anyway.
I see what he's trying to say. He's saying it'll bring crime down.
A lot of people steal. Go and rob people.
Yeah.
If you make it legal, those people could get jobs, and robberies will go down, theft will go down.
And there's ways to test if you're high on the job. So
I mean, I've worked for people that have had hired, heroin addicts and things like that, and tools come up missing, and then they find them in pawn shops, and those guys got their fix for the weekend.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone here is conservative in their thought. We don't agree. No one's going to agree 100% with everybody else, except for me and Joe, because we never argue.
Right.
I think this is the least amount you guys have argued.
It is. It's because we're talking about the Federal Reserve and we both hate it. So.
Yes.
But every one of us, and I'm just speaking in general, I don't know. But I'm sure everyone on this panel has smoked weed. I know I have. If you don't want to let anybody know, you don't have to. Ed is sure shit raising his hand.
I have doesn't mean I like it.
No, and I hate it. I don't like it. Now, I was a drunk.
Yeah,
I mean, I was a drunk.
alcohol's way worse.
But thank God that that's gone.
You're welcome.
You are so rude.
I know.
It's our
I'm gonna burn on fire for eternity.
Legalize pot and we'd be a lot happier world.
That's where we'll get an argument is religion.
Yeah, something that amazes me though is that they had to pass an amendment to ban alcohol,
But they didn't have to.
but
for
pot is
weed.
like, okay, you can't do it. Period. How's that possible?
Pot makes a bunch of happy.
I'm going to tell you what, even if they legalized it, I'm not going to do it. I just don't like the feeling. Especially, I mean, I've tried it within the last year. I'm not going to lie to you. But my mother was real sick, and she got some from somebody that we know. And
No, plug him in. Plug it.
she, I'll give him a plug. Yeah, go see Jason down on
There'll be a link down into the.
No, and I tried it, and it's so freaking strong now that it ain't the weed that I grew up on.
Exclamation point.
It was not. It is. Wow. I mean, so then my mom's in bed. She's already.
That's why they call it dope.
And she thinks she's dying because of the weed.
Damn.
Story before.
She was like.
That's why they call it killer weed.
She was telling me, my wife, she goes, I was hoping somebody would come in the room. I thought I was dying. But yeah, it is very potent. Very potent.
Potpourri.
Yeah, I looked at it and I said, what the hell is this orange hair on here?
Chester's a cheetah.
It ain't the Bobby Brown we grew up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, Federal Reserve is gone. We're way past that.
We started talking about drugs.
No, I
all ties
really
in
do.
together.
I agree with everybody that, I think crime would go down because it wouldn't be a crime. And honestly, I think the deaths would go down.
They would.
Because if this guy's selling bad shit, and I can go to this guy where I'm not gonna die, you know, it's you go to the guy who sells the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to the guy that, hey, 10 guys just died, but shit, they were high as fuck. So
You don't go to the guy that's going to disappear, the guy that's standing on the street corner that you go back to complain and he's gone. You can't take your drug dealer into court, you know. You can't take your drug dealer into court. If there's a dispensary down the street, he's got a physical address there. You're going to go back and you're going to bitch at him if your stuff's messed up.
And if you die from it, you sue him.
Yeah, right.
I
So
think you can't. I think
you're going to
a
go in
lot
there.
of the. I think a
There'll be
lot of the people.
THC content on the package and all that stuff.
Unlike Big Pharma, you could sue them guys.
Oh yeah, of course you can.
Oh, by the way, plug the GOP shop. They have these lovely liberal tier coffee cups. Yeah, pick yourself up one.
GOP shop.
Yeah, the GOP shop.
That's what it's called, the GOP shop?
Yeah.
Where's that at?
No, it's in Beverly Hills, California.
Oh.
Why are we supporting that? No. Actually, they're bringing the front to them. That's awesome.
Well, you can actually get one from Ben Shapiro, but you're going to have to pay like $100 for it. So, or you could get one from Steven Crowder, and that costs you $100. So,
You just said they both cost $100.
But you emphasized 100.
Yeah, twice. So anyway, anybody got any final words to talk about this?
Why is the Federal Reserve bad? Period. What? Why is it bad?
Question mark.
Why is it bad? Because
Sorry, not
it's
period.
first of all,
It's a mechanism
it
for a
has
bunch
nothing to
of
do with my
crooks
government.
to scam all the money off us they want.
I do not vote. I don't vote for the person in charge of the Federal Reserve. My representative can't audit the Federal Reserve. My representative can't regulate the Federal Reserve. And it's a slave system.
Mechanism, yeah.
And it's a debt-based currency.
It's a
that has to
mechanism for
collapse.
a few. It's a mechanism for a few private individuals to control everybody.
And it is a privately owned bank. And I believe, who was it who, I mean, every founding father warned us against private banks. But what was it, Andrew Jackson?
Andrew Jackson.
And what?
It took the Federal Reserve out.
They,
He has quote, I hate banks.
The thing is that
And they tried to take him out for it.
I believe that Lincoln was killed over the Federal Reserve. I believe that Kennedy, part of his murder was the Federal Reserve.
Operation Northwoods. Next video.
No. But I mean,
There's a
that's
reason.
my opinion on the Federal Reserve.
There's a reason that Trump has a big picture of Andrew Jackson behind him in the Oval Office.
You think Trump's going to do anything about the Federal
Yes, I
Reserve?
do.
Well, and then
And when we talk about the Federal Reserve, we also have to remember the IRS is not a federal agency neither.
You remember
They're a collection agency for the Federal Reserve is what they are. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about JFK getting assassinated and stuff. I don't know if everybody remembers when Trump first got elected and they brought him in, okay, and they say, here's your Secret Service. He says, no, I got my guys. Do you remember that? I remember that.
I don't.
He says, no. Here's your Secret Service. We're giving you these guys to provide your security. No, I got my guys. And he brought his own security with him. That's because they didn't trust the Secret Service. They were in on it with Kennedy. And the other thing is, then when they were going to give him the daily security briefings or the secret briefings or whatever the president gets every day from the security agencies or the CIA, FBI, all those. And he says, no, I'm getting my information from the military, from the guys in the military. That's where I'm getting my information from. I'm not sitting in on your briefings.
Well, and then to go back to it,
well, let's go ahead and get Ed's opinion on it. The Federal Reserve. Why don't you like it? Why do you?
Anybody that knows about it don't like it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I think. It's a scam.
If you for it, you don't know what it is.
Right, it's a scam. It was formed to swindle the money from the people, basically.
And was the gold
Everything's
standard?
already said. I don't.
Yeah, I know, it's already been
See, we
said.
should have started with that side and went this way.
Poor Dustin. He just started working, so he's just now getting a taste of taxes. So, you know.
Well,
I know.
It sucks.
was the gold standard the system of all systems, or was there downfalls to it? Was there things that if we were to implement it again, if we were to implement something like the gold standard again, is there things that we should tweak?
Well, here's the
first
thing, too, is
inflation.
that-
The first inflation was in early Rome when they clipped the gold coins, and the coin would be
Shaving the
worth
coins, yeah.
less and less and less and less.
Oh, yeah, well, and they used to clip to like make change. They used to just cut pieces of coin.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness, what the heck?
But the thing of it is that the government's got no business controlling our means of exchange.
and that's
you know,
what a barter
the thing of it is too.
system is.
The thing of it is too is if they didn't have the control of it, yeah, it's okay. Say maybe the government has their own gold back system or whatever. Maybe people like that and stuff. But if they didn't have control of it, there would be a private market, and the best money system would win. I mean, look at our cryptocurrencies with the the Litecoin and the Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those different types. They're competing with each other. If money systems could compete with each other, the best one would win, and the bad ones would drop out. The bad ones would go bankrupt. So, yeah, that's.
So
I mean, to say should it be gold? I don't know. Just hey, let the games begin.
Yeah.
Let's find out what it's going to turn out to be.
I mean,
because it might be so creative, we have no idea what it's going to be yet.
if Trump does something with the Federal Reserve, whether he audits it, sees it, if there is any gold, or I don't know. What's in Fort Knox now? Nothing.
the last time Fort Knox was opened was in 1942, and they opened one vault, and they let people see the gold that was inside of that one vault, but they would not open, I believe it's the 20-some others, and they have not opened it since 1942 to the public, and they only opened it to the public because so many people were sending letters saying that they wanted to see if there was still gold inside of Fort Knox. But my question is if we're not with the gold standard anymore, if we're not with the gold standard anymore, and what's the point of having that gold in Fort Knox? The government must have done something with it.
But even to say that, why just gold? I mean, there's silver, there's other precious metals, there's diamonds, there's all kinds of things.
It's the oil standard. There's no gold. It's all about oil anyway.
But the thing is, isn't that unconstitutional?
Well, yeah.
I mean, the Constitution clearly states that nothing can be bought or,
There's it says in there that no money should be printed that's not backed by gold or silver. Is what it says. Is what it says. But it doesn't say that we can't have our own exchange system either.
But the Constitution is outdated.
It is a barter system. I mean,
everybody does
between
it.
us. I mean, we barter things. I mean, with each other.
Everybody does it.
Everybody does it. It's just. Unfortunately, to have anything to barter, you have to have this Federal Reserve note to buy something that's worth any value. Do you understand?
Well, and the thing of it is you go into a marketplace and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Say I'm bartering and I got eggs, right? And this guy's got tomatoes. Maybe he don't need. I need tomatoes, but he don't need eggs. So I got to find somebody that will take eggs to give me something that he needs. And it's like so you have to have some kind of a standard.
And also, we're a consumer
You just have to
society.
have somebody needs. That's all you gotta have.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But if I have something that guy needs, but he don't have what I want, it's like,
You gotta wheel and deal until you get it. Get what you want.
It's like the paperclip
Life's like
story.
that. That's the funnest part.
I'm sure a guy has something you want
Isn't
for
that
some
right,
eggs, Joe.
Yeah. I love wheeling and dealing.
Yep.
I don't need no money.
You've always got something that somebody wants. And
Oh,
they
yeah.
always have something
Oh
that you
yeah.
want.
Yep.
I got nothing nobody wants.
I see a very large TV behind you.
Oh yeah. What do you want for it?
You could.
Some eggs.
Hard boiled.
So what do you guys say? What do we talk about next week? Hold on, I can't see what Kyle says. Maybe we should ask Kyle, since he's the only one messaging. Thanks, everybody.
Well,
Hold on. Let's let a viewer.
dictate our next talking.
We are embedded. We are embedded in every single conspiracy theory you can think of. So just throw one out there and we'll be like, that's it.
I have to bring it back up, so hold on. Make sure this. All right.
Fast and the Furious. And not the movie.
The real Fast and Furious between the cartels and Mexican
Drug lords.
Yep.
Is Kyle
The
still on
U.S.
here?
government and the cartels.
Sending them weapons. Golf and
And
Tonkin
drugs.
incident.
Drugs for weapons.
Well, actually, every false flag that's ever happened. We can just
That's
kind
how
of
the government makes good money. Is
I'll make the timeline, just kind of get a false flag. One going.
All right, I'm still waiting. Is Kyle on there to give us the topic for next week?
now, do we want to be all peaceful next week, or do we want to shout?
Shout.
what happens this week.
He said about the time I didn't poop in the urinal, I had to clean the urinal out. Somebody pooped in a urinal. But
That was you, so this Kyle knows you?
yeah, Kyle worked with me for years.
That was a good when the boss came in there and
Must have been a real emergency, huh?
that was a funny comment.
I'll tell the story real quick so we don't have to worry about it next week, and then we're going to get off here. So anyway,
Just for some laughs.
a Fischer moment. I was working at a print shop, worked there for about 20 years, and I was in the purchasing department at the time, and they came to me because no maintenance man wanted to, somebody had shit in the urinal. So they
It happens all the time.
Somebody came to me. I'm not going to say his name. He's a liberal piece of crap. I mean, this guy is a pussy hat wearing son of a. But
Maybe that's not a hat.
But we don't want to write it up. We want to talk to them.
I'm not going to say his name. Kyle can write it down if he wants. But he came to me and said, "Hey, Fisher," or no, he didn't come to me. The president came to me and said, "Hey, no, the president of the company."
Oh, it's Obama at the
He
time.
came to me and said, "Hey, somebody shit in the urinal. You need to clean it out." And I'm like, "All right." So I get a face shield on, gloves, apron, and I got like sticks or something,
Oh my
cleaning,
gosh.
and a brush, and I'm cleaning this thing out, and this liberal manager walks in and he goes, "What are you doing?" Standing right next to me. And I said, "I'm making soup, you son of a bitch. Would you like a bowl?" And he went to the president, and he came to me with this liberal guy and said, "Oh, did you say this to him? Or what did you say to him?" He said, "You were insubordinate." He says, I told him, I said, "I'm standing here with all this stuff on, shit in the urinal. I'm cleaning this out. The dude comes over my shoulder, looks at it, and says, 'What are you doing?' So I told him, 'I'm making soup, you dumb son of a bitch. Would you like a bowl?' And the president looked at him and said, 'That was a stupid ass thing to ask.'" And walked away, and nothing happened, but that's the story. That's the poop soup story.
You went to tell
So-
Dad, and Dad laughed at it. Oh, yeah.
Well, hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hey, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But when you hit the notification bell, you have to hit all. And I want to thank my crew for coming here.
You're
they
welcome.
Don't get paid. They, take the time out of their personal life. And we will see you next Saturday, 6 p.m. In Your Face with Fisher. Thanks. Later.
Okay,